I woke up, at least. I think I did. There was no ceiling above me, no floor beneath, no light source to cast shadows, and no sensation I could recognize as gravity or balance or weight. But I was aware, not like waking from a dream, not like coming back to reality, but like being unzipped from some previous version of myself and poured into this moment. I couldn't tell if my eyes were open or closed. Everything was pale, not white, but desaturated, as though the world had been rinsed in silence. I thought about breathing, and only then did air return. I thought about sound, and only then did I hear something, a faint vibration, like the tail end of a memory someone else had left running in the background. I tried to speak, but found no voice, only the impression of one, the way you remember how your voice feels in your throat, but can't quite locate it. I knew I was standing, but my legs hadn't moved. My feet didn't touch anything I could feel. I don't know how long I stayed like that, because here, time didn't pass, it waited. Not forward, not backward, just suspended. Still, I tried to remember who I was. Not my name, not my job, just the shape of me. But all I could find were fragments. I saw a dark lake with no reflection, a hallway that led back to the same hallway, a voicemail I never recorded playing in my own voice, a woman with gray hair standing at the edge of a bed, always behind me, never blinking. I remembered a school with no students and a bell that rang only after I forgot something important. I remembered a door labeled B2 that didn't exist on any blueprint, and the sound of someone breathing behind me, even when I was alone. But none of these belonged to me. They weren't mine. They were experiences, sampled, imported, played. I started to suspect I wasn't waking from anything. I was waking into something. And worse, whatever I was waking into already knew I was coming. That's when I saw it. A single phrase burned into the space in front of me. Not typed, not drawn, but branded into the world like a command left hanging in the air. Wake sequence. Ready. It pulsed once, then everything stopped, not just around me, but in me. No breath, no pulse, no sound. Just the memory of what it felt like to be alive, observed from a distance, and then, without warning, I heard my own voice whisper from behind me. We don't wake up, we get booted. I thought of a wall, and a wall appeared not with sound, not with movement, just existence, like it had always been there, and I'd just become aware of it. When I thought of structure, the floor under me solidified. When I thought of breath, I heard the faint hum of circulation, as if air was being pumped in through unseen vents. Nothing came until I asked for it. And then everything arrived, as if it had been waiting to be remembered. A chair formed beneath me as I sat. A terminal glowed to life before me. The second I imagined something to interface with, the screen turned on without a keyboard, no cables, no circuitry, just illumination bending to will. A line of text typed itself slowly, as though respecting the rhythm of my awareness. Wake sequence active, observer online. I didn't type that. I didn't know who did. But it addressed me directly, like I had signed in to something I didn't know I had access to. I tried to recall where I was before this. Not just in space, but in order. Where did this moment fall in the chronology of anything? I couldn't tell. I only remembered feelings. The sense of not being alone in a hallway that should have been empty. The certainty that someone else was inside my skin, whispering with my voice. The suspicion that the memories I had weren't stored, they were played back. I couldn't remember my own handwriting, but I could quote, word for word, the sentence scratched into the wall in the B2 tunnel. You're not supposed to leave without finishing what you recorded. I had never written that, but my brain reacted like it knew what came next. The terminal pulsed again. Loop 10, subject 0H, first trace reconnected. Then a new screen appeared, showing a live feed. I thought it would be of me. It was. It was a wide-angle view of a white room empty except for a chair and a figure sitting in it. Their back faced the camera. The posture was familiar. The shoulders, the neck tilt. I leaned forward. The figure moved, matching me exactly. I raised my hand. They raised theirs half a second earlier. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't being shown something. I was being watched, not through my eyes, but from behind them. The screen blinked. Then a new phrase appeared, one I didn't think, didn't summon, and wasn't ready to read. This is the version that remembers too much. I stepped back from the screen, but the feed continued without me. The figure in the chair moved again. This time, they stood up. Not in sync with me, not echoing my motion. They moved first, like they were ahead of me in time. I blinked. They didn't. I turned away from the monitor, instinctively looking behind me, expecting to see the back of my own skull. Nothing, just white. But when I looked back, the camera feed had changed angles. It was now over the shoulder, watching me from behind, exactly where I had just been looking. There was no camera in the room, no physical lens, no device, but I was being observed from inside the act of observing. I tried to leave, but there was no exit. Not because the room was sealed, but because my legs didn't move. They bent, they shifted weight, but it felt performative, like I was acting out the motion of deciding. I lifted my hand, but in the corner of the screen, a playback interface showed that action already recorded. Time-stamped, indexed. It had happened, was happening, would happen again. I wasn't acting of my own will. I was being retrieved. The lights dimmed. The walls seemed to expand, not physically, but perceptually, like a lens was zooming out. And across from me, where only a blank wall had been, a door was now open. Inside it, another room, another chair, another me. This version of me was already seated, already plugged in. Wires curled out from his scalp into the wall like roots feeding something deeper. His eyes were open, dry, staring straight ahead. I stepped closer, unsure which one of us had come first. His chest didn't rise, but the EEG display above his head was active, erratic. A loop pulsed across the monitor. REM trace, stabilizing, 10B/observer. I opened my mouth to ask who he was, who I was, but the voice came out of him, not me. It doesn't matter which of us you think you are. The one who speaks last is the one they'll keep. He didn't blink, and then the lights went out. Only one thing remained lit, the word. Recording. I don't remember sitting in the chair. One moment, I was standing in front of the other me, the silent version, the one that stared without blinking. The next, I was rooted, strapped in, though there were no straps, fixed to something older than the room. My vision blurred, not from fear, not from sleep, but from overlap. Layered memories started folding into the present. Clips, images, sounds, all crashing into each other without context. I saw the hallway from floor B2, the lake with the smile that came before the reflection, a classroom with no students, and a bell that refused to ring, the nurse who watched the dead breathe, the man who recorded his own death in voicemail format. I saw all of it again and again until I realized I wasn't remembering. I was being played back to someone else. Across from me, a screen lit up. There was no interface, just one sentence. Now loading. Observer 11A. I tried to move. I couldn't. Tried to scream. No throat. Tried to close my eyes. They were already open in the footage. On the screen, someone was watching me. A silhouette, leaning forward, chin resting on one hand, watching me watch myself. I couldn't make out their face, but I could feel their curiosity. It wasn't malicious. It was clinical, as if they'd seen this before, too many times, as if I was the 10th attempt, not the first, and I knew what would happen next. The screen blinked. The silhouette leaned closer. Then the words updated. Viewer connected. Identity confirmed. Subject 10B. Loop closed. Somewhere behind me, I heard the quiet hiss of a door closing. Or maybe a seal pressurizing. The air shifted. The temperature didn't. My body didn't move, but the system responded as if I'd agreed. Then, a final line of text appeared across the screen in front of me, slow and deliberate. This is where you stop being the subject and become the simulation. And just before the feed cut to black, I caught one last glimpse my own face, staring straight ahead, waiting. Not for rescue, not for answers, but for you.